Welcome to Go Fund This, a podcast from the Nerds domain. In these episodes, we'll be talking to crowdfunding project managers about their projects and what excites them. Come listen as we talk about the passion they have for their project.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Go Fund This. This week, I am here with Sarah Newton from Mindjammer Press. We're going to talk about the great new Kickstarter they have going called Mindjammer, the role-playing game. Hi, Sarah. How you doing?
Very good, thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me on the Nerds domain.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. So, Sarah, we normally... I misled you slightly. I didn't mention that there are two secret questions at the very beginning of every interview that we like to throw out there and not warn our interviewees about. These are really, really important, and they really set the tone for the rest of the interview. So think hard about these. I said there were no stumping questions, but these might do it. In the impending zombie apocalypse, what is your weapon of choice?
It's a scythe, actually.
Oh, a scythe. Okay.
I have a couple in my barn, and I've been practicing.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Oh, well, then you're all set. Yeah, right on. Yeah, you're set. Okay. And then, given all of the sci-fi that you know, and this one's a little ironic, what planet do you want to visit most?
At the moment, Mars.
Mars? Okay.
Yeah,
is it just
by the real Mars? I want to go there. I want to go.
Oh, the real Mars. Oh, perfect.
I'm
okay.
Digging things up and finding out what's under the surface.
No, absolutely. All right. So now that we've gotten past the hard ones, let's kind of start off with the sales pitch. What exactly is the Mindjammer role-playing game, and why do you have such a passion for it?
Gosh, yes. Well, very simply, I'm a long-term role player. I started role-playing back in 1980. And I've played Traveller, I've played Ringworld, I've played Space Opera, I've played tons of different science fiction role-playing games. But I've always had an itch to have a really modern science fiction role-playing game, one that's up to date with all the tropes that basically have come about since the 1980s. I think a lot of RPGs with space opera and science as their themes tend to focus very much on sort of Star Trek, Star Warsy type space opera, and they don't really deal with some of the things that have come about in the past 20 years, such as personality, memory uploads, issues of genetic divergence, and those kind of things, and basically things like the internet-type technologies that we've had over the past 20 years, which have really changed everything in science fiction. And I think a lot of SF RPGs haven't really sort of got to grips yet with the implications of some of these new technologies. So I've always been wanting to play in that kind of environment. But at the same time, you know, I'm a huge fan of the old Trek, and I remember as a kid I used to watch the original series, and Kirk and Spock would always be on some planet that looked like sort of Greece or Chicago or something like that. And even as a kid, I was kind of thinking, yeah, okay, that's a bit. I'm not quite sure how that comes about. So what I thought about was, you know, how would something like that actually, could that be possible? Could you actually have an interstellar civilization where certain planets did look like old Earth cultures and things like that? So I got to thinking, and I was writing a science fantasy setting, about 15 years ago now, which was inspired very much by the artwork of Bruce Pennington. Do you know Bruce Pennington's art at all?
I can't say that I would pick it out of a crowd, but that doesn't mean I've not seen it.
Well, you might have seen the I think it was the New English Library series of the
yeah.
You know, Princess of Mars, and I think he did Dune as well in the 1970s. There's a really big sort of all full of pastel colours and corroded and eroded ruins and things like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now. It's all these beautiful painted landscapes that are just slightly eerie and off-putting.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous.
Really nice stuff, yeah. And I was writing a setting that was inspired by those paintings called The Chronicles of Future Earth. And I'm still playing it and still writing about it and so on. And The Chronicles of Future Earth is set in sort of 70-odd thousand AD, or even close to 100,000 AD or something, in a very far future is post-historical civilization. And it was published about 5 or 6 years ago by Chaosium. but I'm still working on it. And I was thinking about the backstory of this fallen, far future post-human civilization. And that's what led me on to something that eventually became Mindjammer. So all of those things kind of joined together. The idea of a 21st century science fiction setting, the idea of, the old Trek, old Earth cultures in space, and also this backstory for a very far future post-human civilization. And that became something called the New Commonality of Humankind. And that's the default setting of the Mindjammer role-playing game. Now, it was first published as a supplement for Starblazer Adventures. I don't know if you remember that. Came out about 5 or 6 years ago by Cubicle 7, written by Chris Birch, who's a very good friend. And he actually gave me my first writing gig with the Mindjammer supplement for Starblazer Adventures. It was a Fate 3rd edition supplement set in the New Commonality of Humankind. And we've just 2 years ago, well, actually 18 months ago, early 2014, we published the 2nd edition of Mindjammer as a standalone role-playing game this time, using the new Fate core rules, the 4th edition of Fate. And it's a role-playing game that's set in this new commonality of humankind. And the entire concept of it is it's set in about 17,000 AD. So it's very, very far future. And everything in our era now is basically prehistoric. It's barely remembered. And old Earth had, for about 10,000 years, a very almost oppressive, stagnant civilization with a caste system and very, very structured societies. And it tried to colonize around itself using slower-than-light generation ships. So sending out people in stasis or actual generation ships, slower than light over thousands of years to colonize far-flung star systems. And it lost contact with most of these, as you would. If you travel 1,500 light years away, it takes 1,500 years for a signal to get back to Earth to say you've arrived. And by that time, God knows what's happened. So this diaspora from old Earth continued for thousands of years, but didn't really create an interstellar civilization, apart from very, very close to the solar system, maybe within about 50 light years, where contact was kind of possible. But over that time, Earth began to stagnate. It was very, very advanced technologically, but it was also very highly populated and very controlling, very oppressive. And eventually, humankind was on the verge of collapse until 200 years ago, suddenly and mysteriously, faster-than-light travel was invented, or discovered perhaps. And suddenly, the old commonality reinvented itself as the new commonality of humankind. And humanity went out to the stars to rediscover all of these lost colonies that it created over the past 10,000 years. And some of these colonies have been created from old Earth cultures. Not necessarily Chicago, but, previous past historical cultures. And they diverged in their own ways, in strange ways, and often become something more or less than human. They devolved or evolved in divergent ways and so on. And some of them didn't really want this massive, great interstellar civilization turning up and trying to reintegrate them into the mother culture. So you have a system where there's cultural conflict flaring up all around this fringe, where this event horizon of exploration is going out and finding new worlds that have been settled by human beings millennia before. Yeah, so that's your basic setup. You've got this golden age, expansionary, very advanced civilization of transhumans and posthumans, rediscovering older, lost colonies in all different states, and the conflicts that occur between them. And there is a thing in the setting called the Mindscape, which is where I mentioned earlier about the sort of internet-style technologies and the implications of them. The Mindscape is this enormous, this vast interstellar consciousness and data storage medium. It's kind of like an interstellar internet, if you like. And all human beings and post-humans are connected to this Mindscape by something called a Mindscape implant, a neural implant. And that allows them to thought broadcast to communicate with one another, almost by using, a 17th millennium version of Skype, if you will, by sending thoughts to one another across the Mindscape, and also by uploading their memories to the Mindscape and storing them there, and downloading the memories of other people. And that includes dead people. So you can remember things that happened to people who've been dead for centuries. And you can have artificial intelligences who have personalities based upon the memories of dead war heroes or fighter pilots and things like that. And you can play these as characters. And that includes things like starships. So you have intelligent starships in Mindjammer that you can play as characters, and they can have personalities based on the memories of war heroes from millennia past and things like this. So that's the kind of setting premise that Mindjammer is. Do you want me to go on to say more about the Kickstarter, or should we just?
This is that was all. No, that was all great. I do want to touch real quick. So the Kickstarter's focus is on your book, The City People. It's going to be a scenario. Is that correct?
That's right. Now, what happened there was we published Mindjammer in early 2014. And because of the nature of internet and RPG economics, we published another scenario early this year called Hearts and Minds. And we've just been preparing the second scenario for release now, which is The City People, which is a kind of mystery and exploration on an alien world. It's sort of science fiction, thriller, horror type scenario. But for my purposes, I've got so many words written and so many supplements planned and so many books in the pipeline. We've even had a novel published, by the way. I forgot to mention that. It was published a few years back. So there's more fiction in the pipeline as well. And for me, it was going too slow. I wanted to expand and publish things more quickly. So we decided that we'd actually try a Kickstarter. And because people have been saying, where's the next scenarios? And we're going as quickly as we could within the economics of traditional publishing.
Yeah.
But we thought we needed some sort of push, some sort of boost to get these books out there. So, we've come to Kickstarter, and we're asking people to... The initial goal was simply to fund a colour print run of the City People scenario. We wanted something quite modest and achievable. And that happened. We did that within one day. And we were funded on that yesterday morning, Wednesday morning. And we're now on to subsequent stretch goals, which are including things like we have a player's guide, which is pretty much, I think we were just about £100 off unlocking a stretch goal, and then we're onto the player's guide next. We have more source books about the core worlds around Old Earth, source books about the big enemy of the commonality called the Venu, who are an ancient lost colony who've sort of turned bad. We have source books about aliens and the outer worlds and the fringe worlds and campaigns and scenarios and so on. And also, we went to the fans about 2 or 3 weeks ago with a survey saying, what do you want to see in a Kickstarter? And Mindjammer has always been a Fate core, or a Fate setting. I love Fate. It's my go-to system and has been for about 5 years. But like I say, I've played loads of games, and a lot of people said, we're not really big into Fate. Can you do a traveller version? So we thought, okay. A lot of people want this. It's a setting that can be played in a number of different ways, and Traveller is a great solid system. I love it to bits. Mindjammer will play very differently in Traveller than it will in Fate. Obviously, they're quite different experiences around the table. Why not? So we're doing that as well. We have a stretch goal, which we will hopefully hit quite soon, to produce a Traveller version, a supplement for Mindjammer allowing you to play in the new commonality using the Mongoose Traveller rules, and that will be the new edition of Mongoose Traveller due out next spring. That's what we're doing. So the initial impetus was to do the print run for the City People, and then from there we're really trying to get the momentum to publish this vast backlog of supplements which we have. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and in this you have 4 or 5 short stories as stretch goals, and then several RPG supplements all kind of combined in there. You've already unlocked Slow Boat, which is one of the short stories from the Songs of Old Earth. Yeah. So that's all fantastic. Yeah, you've got lots and lots and lots of levels available. or not levels, stretch goals. Like you've got quite a bit planned out, and it's exciting to see that you're only about 3,000 pounds away from the Mindjammer companion, and then that would also unlock the Traveler supplement as well.
That's right.
And for our listeners at home who are not familiar with Traveler, because there are some of those, Fate is a very it's not rules light. It's very story driven and focused. And Traveler still allows a good story, but it is a lot crunchier. There's a lot more going on as far as rules and what you're doing. It will definitely play quite a bit different.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would be opposed to playing a different kind of Traveler. I don't care for the Traveler base setting, but it's a good system. So, well, that's all excellent. Go ahead.
One of the things one thing that I haven't really mentioned, which we're quite excited about with the Traveler version, is that the Fate Core game allows you to play cultural conflict. Yeah.
Okay.
So what you can do in Fate, because in Fate everything can be a character, you can set up organizations and in fact whole cultures as with character sheets. You can have culture sheets with statistics and skills and things for cultures, and they can come into conflict. So you can have the commonality culture coming into conflict with a Lost World culture, which could be based on Chicago, but let's be more reasonable. Let's say it was based on, I don't know, 5th millennium Central Mongolia or something like that, some sort of future science fiction Mongolia, and then you could have that as a culture sheet, and they could come into conflict. And one of the big things is that in Fate you can have a character, so an individual human being or equivalent entity in Mindjammer. It could be a starship, it could be an alien, it could be a synthetic being, can affect a culture. Yeah. So you can undertake some sort of psyops or some sort of propaganda campaign, and you can affect a culture and change it. And that's what the commonality is doing on the interface, on the fringe of its expansion, where it's coming into contact with these lost colony worlds and their cultures. It's undertaking cultural operations to manipulate and change those cultures, which is where a lot of the action happens and can happen. And the Fate Core system allows you to do that quite smoothly. An individual character can affect a culture, and you can engage in what we call mimetic combat. So you can become a mimetic engineer and fiddle around with memes and things like that. And we're going to replicate something similar in Traveler.
Okay.
Now that's going to be interesting because, like you say, they are very different beasts. Fate as a system allows a degree of abstraction. And it has a paradigm which has got a little bit of a meta quality to it, so that as a gamer, you're always conscious that you're playing a character. And a lot of people say that runs counter to immersiveness and immersion. And maybe it does to some extent, but it's a different kind of immersion in my book. Now, Traveller is a much more traditional RPG, and it very much focuses upon immersion. So the paradigm is quite different, and it's going to be really interesting to produce rules for cultural operations and affecting cultures using the Traveller rules. So that's one of the exciting things we're going to try and do. And also things like the Mindscape, using technological psionics and forecasting and memory uploads in the Traveller system as well. So it's quite an exciting opportunity to do that.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing how that translates over into Traveller, because that'll be interesting to watch. Now, tell us a little bit about your company, Mindjammer Press. How long have you been around? Is this the first setting that you guys have worked with?
That's a good question, actually. Not strictly speaking, no, it's not. We've been around since mid 2012. I formed Mindjammer Press specifically to publish some of the setting properties that I'd created myself, and that included things like the Chronicles of Future Earth, which is still being worked on at the moment. More about that later. And a game called Monsters and Magic, which we published back in 2012, I think it was now. Which was the kind of it was before D&D 5th edition came out, and I'd had a yen to play my old AD&D modules, and I came up with a system which allowed us to use a more modern set of mechanics, but you could use your old AD&D and first edition D&D modules without changing any statistics, without actually converting them. You could just play them with a different set of rules. So it took out the rules module and put a new one in, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually gone from strength to strength. The people have I put it out in the OGL, and people have been writing supplements for it. Ebon Griffin Press with Travis Casey has been publishing bestiary and a book of spells and so on. And there's quite a active community about it. It's called Monsters and Magic. So we published that in 2012. We published the Mindjammer novel in the same year, and that's gone from strength to strength. That's been selling very well. And now we've been publishing Mindjammer as well. So there are I have various plans for publishing, but Mindjammer is our principal property. The Chronicles of Future Earth is the one I mentioned earlier, and that's been underway as well. I've been working on a standalone game for that. But at the moment, I've written a novel for the Chronicles, which is with a number of publishers, and that's currently where the efforts are. We sort of have to wait for publishers to decide what they're doing with it before we go ahead with a role-playing game.
Absolutely. That makes sense. So it looks like the Kickstarter funded pretty quickly because you guys only been up for a couple of days. That's right.
It's day 3 today. Yes.
So you guys are over your 5,000-pound goal. Sorry, I had to look. All of it translates into U.S. money on our side, which makes your goals a little, your stretch goals a little weird looking.
It's about 8,000, is that right? About 8,000?
Says, yeah, it's 7,600 on our end, but you guys blew past that. You're at 68, almost 6,900 pounds right now, and then you got a stretch goal every 1,000 or 1,500 when it gets up to the higher end.
Yeah, what we tried to do, one thing I wanted to do, we've got a lot of content to actually get out to people. And one of the frustrating things with the Kickstarter is that you want to give everybody everything right away.
Yeah.
But you have to be sensible and you have to be realistic. You know, you want to deliver this stuff. It's been costed very carefully. And we've been blessed at having Chris Birch of Modifius be our Kickstarter mentor for that. He's done a number of really big Kickstarters, Acton Cthulhu, which I wrote for. Mm-hmm. And Mutant Chronicles, and recently Infinity. So he's been giving us lots of guidance and advice on how to make this a real thing and to make it reliable and stable, which is really important. So yeah, we've not been able to do everything all at once. So in order to help, what we've done is we've structured in a way of having major stretch goals. And the major stretch goals are roughly every £4,000. That's about every $5,500, $6,000. And we put interim stretch goals between them, so that there's always something coming out.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's meaty, but every 4K or so, there'll be something really chunky. And we put bonus stretch goals when we can. So the first bonus is at 10K, which is Mindjammer Traveller and the Mindjammer Companion. So it's a gradually building thing like Kickstarters are. But yeah, it was really tempting not to give everything away all at once.
Well, and it looks like you've got several levels. So if you just want the City People PDF, it's just £5 or $8 American, and then from there it just kind of goes up. It makes it pretty easy. You can get the base Mindjammer RPG in PDF for $30, and that then actually unlocks everything that comes from the stretch goals as well. And then you can go all the way up to 170 pounds or a little over $250 US, and it's going to give you quite a bit of stuff. So
yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
What we wanted to do there was just really the best deal there is, or in the you can pay £20, $30 and get absolutely everything we do in PDF. You can get physical copies of things. The one thing that I should stress is because Mindjammer, the role-playing game, was published back in 2014. This Kickstarter isn't to produce the core book, it's to produce the scenario, the second scenario. And we've already done that, which is great. But what we wanted to do was to make sure that people could get a really good deal on the core book and the existing products as part of the Kickstarter. So we've included that. So for example, if you're just intrigued by what we've been talking about and you want to get this stuff, there's a physical sort of 500-page tome, which is the Fate Core Rules, complete standalone, big book. There's reviews all over the web for it. The Mindjammer core book. There's the Adventure Hearts and Minds. There's a new adventure, The City People. You can get all three of those for, I think it's about $60, $63 or something like that. It's £45. Let me just double check.
Yeah, looks like $68.
$68, right?
Yep.
So that's a great deal. You're getting a massive discount for doing that, and within that price, you also get every single PDF that we're going to produce in the Kickstarter. So that's the Player's Guide, that's the fiction, that's the digital packs, that's Mindjammer Traveller, the companion, and the source books, and so on as we keep going. So there are some it's not too complicated, but we just wanted to make sure that people could get the core book if they hadn't got it already, and if they had got it already, they could get the new stuff without having to rebuy the core book. So we just made sure those two threads, if you like, those two tracks were available.
Right on. Well, it looks like you guys are off to a good start, and
yeah, thank you.
You've got another 31 days to go before we'll see how far you go, because that's really all the question is now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it would be awesome to go as far as we can with this, because there's such a lot to say about the commonality, and we have a lot of material. I mean, I've got over 1 million words ready to go. We have two new writers on board, John Sneed and David Donachie are on board helping us with writing. We have Jason Juta as our art director, Michael Cross doing the layout, and so on. So we have a good team. Ian Steed, who's one of the Traveller mappers from the Traveller calendar, is doing our deck plans and our 3D models and that kind of thing. So we've got a really good team now, pulled together over the past few years, and we're just itching to get cracking on this stuff.
Well, I'm so excited about this, because that's what I love to hear about Kickstarters. So going forward, where can we see you? Where will you be at conventions?
Well, the next convention is in a couple of weeks, actually in London. Dragon Meet, which is in dragonmeet.co.uk. It's a one-day convention on Saturday, the 4th of December. And we normally have Ken Hite and Robin Laws turn up. It's a good day. It's getting much bigger, this convention. I think we had about 1,500 people last year. We packed out the hall. It's organised and run by Modifius and Chris Birch. So I'll be on the Modifius stand with Mindjammer and Mindjammer Press Goods. So please come up and say hi. And after that, in the new year, I'm going to be at UK Games Expo, which is in Birmingham, which is equivalent to sort of UK Gen Con at the moment. It's getting into the, I think there were 10,000 plus attendees last year. It's getting a sizable convention. And then possibly Gen Con in the summer. We'll wait and see on that.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I love seeing everybody out here in Indianapolis for Gen Con, so I would love to see you guys out here and see what all is out from Mindjammer at that point. So
that would be awesome.
Well, excellent. We can find you on Twitter at Mindjammer Press. Facebook is also going to be Mindjammer Press.
Yep.
Your website is mindjammerpress.com. You've done a really good job of solidifying that. I like that. That makes it easy. And then if you want to head right to the Kickstarter, just go to tinyurl.com/jammerkick, and that'll take you right into the Kickstarter and get you set up and ready.
That's right.
Anything else, Sarah, before we go?
I think that's pretty much it, really. I mean, what I would say is, if anything we've said here today has interested you, please come along. Please pledge, because we have a heck of a lot of stuff in the wings. And the more momentum we can get at this stage, the more we can unlock these stretch goals. And the stretch goals themselves, we have physical product to unlock. We have GM screens, we have posters, we have fate tokens, we have fate dice. There's all kinds of good stuff waiting in the wings, and we just need to keep that momentum going. We've had a great first 3 days, and we're heading into the weekend now. So, please come along to Mindjammer the role-playing game at Kickstarter. You can get to, if you look at any of our websites at Facebook and so on, you'll find links to the Kickstarter everywhere. And please come along and pledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And as soon as I update my credit card at Amazon to let them know what to put over there, I'm going to be a backer as well, because this is the kind of stuff that I love to see. So
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for being on. We will talk to you guys real soon.
And that'll do us tonight on Go Fund This, a Nerds Domain podcast. Remember, you can email us at nerdsdomain@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdsdomain, on Twitter at nerdsdomain, and over at our site, nerdsdom.com. Be sure to sign up for your newsletter while you're there. You can head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. We want to thank Jarby McCoy for our music. Don't forget you can support us at patreon.com/nerdsdomain and check out our shirts at slashloot.com.